How difficult is Hebrew? So this is an interesting one because as far as languages go, it is the only major resurrected language. I'll get into that later. I have actually talked about it before in my Dead or Alive languages video, but yeah, we'll get into it. Just to say before I talk a lot about this, Hebrew, as far as languages I've done on this channel, Hebrew is probably one that I know almost nothing about before I actually did some research for this video. I knew it was an abjad, I knew it was in the Semitic branch with Arabic, I knew what the script looked like, even though I don't know the script. And I know it's the language of Israel. Other than that, I don't know anything about Hebrew. So yeah, it's spoken by about 9 million people worldwide. 5 million people speak it natively, whilst the other 4 speak it liturgically. What liturgical means, I talked about that with Arabic because it's kind of the same principle. It's like an important language that is used for something. So in this instance, it is religion. They use that to read anything to do with Judaism. It's the liturgical language of Judaism, just like Arabic is the liturgical language of Islam. So it's often learnt and used especially for religious purposes. So there are people worldwide learning this or speaking this, even though they don't really need to for where they live, just because it is their religion. So yeah, Hebrew is a Semitic language as well, as I said before, the Afro-Asiatic family, which means it is closely related to Arabic. Arabic, as I said, is also in that branch. Hebrew is written right to left like Arabic, and it is also an abjad, meaning that I've written consonants are omitted, vowels are omitted. So it is only consonants, basically, although it is considered an impure abjad, so I'll talk about that a bit later. The Hebrew alphabet goes by a few different names, such as Katavashuri and block script. There were a bunch of other names as well. One of them was like a Jewish script. I'm not sure how valid they all are, but that was just what I read. And it has 22 letters. Also, parts of the Bible were originally written in Hebrew. I just put that in there because I think it's interesting. But how difficult is Hebrew as a language? Out of the ones that we've done so far, Hebrew is quite a difficult language to learn. It's not as hard as like Chinese, Japanese, and presumably Arabic, but it is quite difficult. It is well harder than French, Spanish, those kind of languages. So the reason for this is because the Hebrew alphabet is completely unfamiliar in appearance. It has nothing that looks anything like something in English, and a lot of it sounds, the technical word for sounds is phonemes as well. So the kind of the noises you produce when you read text out loud in a language. A lot of them are unfamiliar, some are, but I have a picture of the alphabet on the next slide I'll show you in a second. So Hebrew is also written right to left. So that, honestly, with Arabic, doing some very basic Arabic, I didn't find it that hard switching right to left, but potentially get harder as I did more advanced stuff, and potentially everyone is obviously different, so some people might find that more difficult. But yeah, abjads are also generally difficult for English-speaking learners because they don't have vowels, which can make it hard to pronounce. You kind of have to just learn the way, I think I explained this before. If you look at this word considered here, and you take out the O, I, and both of the E's, it's just CNSDRD. You would still know what word that is as an English speaker, even without vowels, because you know the language. But obviously, if you're learning a language, you don't know enough. You don't know a bunch of words. You can just be like, oh yeah, it's probably that one because it has the right gaps. So that is kind of how people who are natives of abjad languages are able to speak it, but obviously for learners you can't. So they have a thing called diacritics, which basically means they're like little symbols that can go around letters. They have them in other abjads as well, like Arabic, and they kind of denote the vowel. So for learners, and they also use it for very important texts that need to be translated 100% accurately. So anything religious, basically. Hebrew also only has 3 tenses, so past, present, and future, and 1 article. I don't know how to pronounce that properly, sorry, but it means the. So they only have the definite article. They have no word for the indefinite article or Hebrew cursive is also different to typed Hebrew. I had a brief look at the picture difference. I guess they can kind of have something in common, kind of like Russian cursive is. Actually, that's probably not a good comparison, but yeah, that can be kind of annoying as someone who has learnt Russian cursive and it doesn't have that much in common with the alphabet. Like, there are significant differences. It can be kind of annoying, but yeah. Yeah, that's the alphabet. So you read from top right to bottom left. So Aleph is the first letter. You can, if you know the Arabic alphabet, you watch my video, you can probably see in the names some similarities. So you've got Aleph is kind of the same name as the Arabic one. What else is there? There's Kaf, Mim, Nun, Ain. So there are kind of some similarities. By the way, I'm not claiming to be able to pronounce any of this properly. I've never learned this language. I probably don't have any interest in learning it. I just thought I'd do a video kind of talking about it as the kind of other well-known Semitic language among English speakers. Obviously, that's not based on how many people speak it. That's just, if you ask people those kind of languages, they'd probably say Arabic first, Hebrew second. So yeah. Should you learn Hebrew? For me, it's not a priority at all. But obviously, if it does interest you, go for it. I would never talk you out of learning a language. Just my opinion personally, I don't plan on learning it probably ever. But if you're looking to study Judaism, history, or anything to do with Abrahamic religions, so the three Abrahamic religions are Christianity, Islam, and Judaism, because they see Abraham as the patriarch, that's kind of getting into Bible study. But yeah, learning Hebrew could potentially be for you because it has been really historically significant in that sense. If you're not interested in these things or living in Israel, which I guess 99.99% of people wouldn't want to, you will likely not find learning Hebrew as interesting or as useful as learning languages like French or Italian. That's just my honest opinion on it. So it is still an extremely important language. I'm not going to disrespect its significance in how it's shaped a lot of texts that impact everyone in the world, but I probably wouldn't learn it, me personally. Hebrew is also the only majorly resurrected language as well. So what a resurrected language is, we've discussed this before, it's either a dead or extinct language. In this instance, it was a dead language. So also what that means, by the way, if you don't know, is a dead language is only spoken by secondary learners. It has no native speakers anymore. So it was dead and it has been resurrected, so that people made a conscious effort to bring it back, start teaching basically kids it, so that's the first language they learn, instead of learning it second, and then it gradually becomes more and more spoken until it's the language of a country, basically, or it's at least spoken by a significant minority. In this instance, it's the language of Israel, so it was revived. It is the only majorly successful attempt. The other languages have been revived a little bit, but this is the biggest example. So yeah, that's basically all of it. Overall, it's not a language I know too much about, so apologies, but I just thought I'd do a quick video on it just because someone requested it. I think they might have been taking the piss in the end, but yeah, oh well, I would just do a video on it. So hopefully, thank you for watching, and I hope you did learn a little bit. You probably didn't learn too much, so yeah, thank you anyway.